Yes, the day has finally arrived. So Oracle Apex 26.1 is now available. We can download it and we can upgrade our local instances. Or right now, OracleApex.com has also been upgraded to Oracle Apex 26.1. Fortunately, I was able to attend few boot camp sessions earlier, with which I was able to get a quick insight on all the cool features that are introduced in this particular release. And I am planning to explain more, and I am also planning to demonstrate each and everything in the upcoming days. And I am planning to collate everything into a single playlist called Oracle Apex 26.1 features. And I am definitely going to start with APEXLang, the most expected feature in this particular release. Before that, let me just give you a quick peek into this 26.1 version. So as you can see, the UI has entirely changed. So usually we had these things at the top bar, but now everything has been moved to the left hand navigation. And here, so as you can see that there is a new module called Data Reporter present. I'll be creating a separate video for that as well, along with why we have to use this, in which cases we can use this data reporter and things like that. So I'll go into detail on this particular topic in the upcoming days. And then, uh, yeah, so apart from that, we can see that the SQL properties is here, SQL Workshop is here, and then the data reporter, it's here in the site navigation as well, and then gallery has been moved here. In this video, we are going to focus only on APEXLang.
Welcome back to my channel Into the Oracleverse, where we learn about Oracle SQL, PL SQL, and Apex. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Before digging deeper, let's understand what APEXLang is in terms of Oracle Apex. So, this APEXLang is a new open application specification language introduced by Oracle, especially for Oracle Apex application development. And this is predominantly created for AI optimized coding. So, with AI agents, we would be able to generatively create applications with this particular language. So, that's the primary reason why this was created. And moreover, with APEXLang, we would be able to export an application in a human readable way. So we have an extension called .apx. So I'll take that export in some moments. So yeah, and then moreover, we would be able to import this APEXLang exports that we are taking from a given application into another, so that we would be able to move the application from one instance to another. So that's the main feature of, or that's the main purpose of APEXLang. Now, yeah, so as I have mentioned, with this, we would be able to generate the application into multiple .apx source files. So if we export a particular application, we would be able to export it, or we would be able to get a zip file as an output, a zip folder as an output. And this particular zip file, it would have separate section. So I'll show that in a moment. And each page would be a separate .apx file, and this would look like YAML kind of thing. So we can explore more on this particular part. And moreover, since it is human readable, and since we have the actual implementation, so if we take an export as .sql, we'll have several things associated with it, which would make it hard to version control. But here it is very Git friendly. So by looking at it, you would be able to know it resembles YAML. So with that, we would be able to version control things in a much better way. And then with this particular part, so right now we have a skill created. I'll also show that particular part. So it is present within the Oracle GitHub repository. So that particular skill is available, with which if we can provide the context to the LLM, and LLM would be able to understand how this APEXLang, how to write this .apx files, and it would be able to create that particular file for us. We would be able to do deployments in a much better way. So continuous integration and continuous deployment can be done in a much better way. And with leveraging the SQLcL tools, we'll be able to create or export the files directly from VS Code, and then we would be able to validate the .apx files that the AI is creating, and then we would be able to also import it within our destination environment. So we would see most of the things today, and we will see the rest of the things in the upcoming days. I'll be covering each and everything in order. So yeah, now let's move on to the next one. So before jumping into this .apx file structure, I'd like to actually do an export within application builder. So I'll click any application. So let me take the starter app. It has 39 pages, and yeah, so within this I have export and import, and here I'll have to choose export. So previously you would have seen this application YAML and then the SQL exports, but now the application YAML is removed and APEXLang is present. And there are four exports that we would be able to take. So we can either take the standard export, which is recommended for version control, where we would be able to export all the relevant metadata, developer metadata, along with the actual specification of our application. And this runtime export, it will just give the specification of the application, and it won't have the developer metadata and other things. And then with full export, we'd be able to take workflows, activity, the report related things and everything together in this particular full export. With custom export, we'd be able to exactly choose what is needed for us. So we'd be able to, so this is just like the previous exports that we did so far. So now let me just take the standard export, since I'm doing it for the first time. And moreover, there is one more thing that I wanted to say here. This particular export of a particular application in APEXLang format, this can also be done without navigating into the application itself. So I'll show that in a moment. But now let us also learn about this particular feature. So we can click export, and now okay, so this is a new learning for me as well. This application contains legacy tabs which are not supported. So from this we can see that with if there are legacy tabs present, we won't be able to generate a APEXLang format for it. So let me go back and let me take or pick up one of the recent applications that I have created. So this has just 9 pages, and there are no legacy pages. So let me follow the same thing. So I'll go to export import, and then I'll go to export, and then yes, I'll click export. Yes. So I can see that the application's name is the name of the zip file. Now, so that's the last thing that we would be doing in our source APEXLang or in our source Apex environment. Next steps which we are going to do, everything is limited to the ID that we have. So we would be able to develop things, we'd be able to correct things, we'd be able to incorporate new features and stuff. So we can do everything within our ID. So to do that, and before doing that, as I was mentioning earlier, this Apex skills, right now it is this APEXLang skills, it is now present within the actual GitHub repository of Oracle. So here we can see that there are several information available. And this skill.md, right, this is going to have the actual the order, or this will have the rules that the AI agent would follow to create that APEXLang related files. So here this has literally everything. And yeah, so now we can actually look into this particular feature in a much detailed way at a later point of time. We'll just look at the basic concept of APEXLang, how it can be used, and the basic setup that are needed to get this up and running. So we'll just look into that particular part right now, and we'll look into the actual application building at a later point. Now let me get back to the VS Code. So within VS Code, there is an update made today. So it was just updated, and you can see in the release notes in within change log, you would be able to see the actual changes that are made. So you can see that the APEXLang is now supported, and then you can see that we can see few things about the skills repository, and then there are few other issues which are fixed. But right now, this is the main feature which was introduced. So since I know that this is present, I can get to, so we'll have to go to this. If you are new to VS Code, and if you haven't set this SQL Developer Extension for VS Code yet, I have a video dedicated for that. You can actually look into this. And I have a separate playlist for this SQL Developer Extension for VS Code. So here I can actually see that. Let me just copy this. So it was extracted and I can already see these things. But let me take a step back and let me remove this and let me actually open this particular folder through VS Code. So to do that, I'll have to go to Explorer and then click Open Folder, and I'll have to choose that particular folder which has this particular package, and then I'll have to select that particular folder. So now you can see, yeah, we can do this. So you can see the things available here. So first, let's look into this application.apx. So this has the application metadata. So let me just collapse this for a moment. Yes. So this has the application name here, and then so here you can see that it resembles YAML, but still it is not completely YAML. And here you can see it has key value kind of a setup, so it kind of resembles JSON as well, but it's not completely that. And yeah, so now if I change the indentation, nothing goes wrong, so you can't see anything. But if I change something else, we should have thrown an error and it is throwing an error. See, so that is because of the language setup provided by the SQL Developer Extension of VS Code. So if you are not seeing this, then definitely you might have to update your extension because it was just released today, just before 30 minutes. So you will need that up and running. So let me just put it back as it was earlier. So there are few important things that we might have to or we can infer from here. So you can see all the specifications being captured, and you can see that there are no other IDs or some other random numbers present. Rather, everything is related to the application, and everything is clearly defined, or it is clearly readable. We can actually look at it and we would be able to infer things from this. So that's the power of this particular APEXLang open specification language. And moreover, here we can actually see few places where there is this at the rate of. So this particular part is it's just denoting a reference made to this particular part. So this scheme would have been created somewhere else, and it is referenced here. So that's why this at would be used. So the same applies here. So this navigation bar is something which was already created and it is referenced here. We look at all these things at a very later point or in the upcoming days. Now, yeah, now let me go to page group. So within page group, we have something called administration. And then, yeah, so those two are the root files. And there can be few other things as well. I am yet to explore the things in a much broader way. I'm just looking at it for the first time in my system. And if there are maybe if there are additional things, there can be other root files as well. But still, in upcoming days, I'll explore all those things and then I can provide a detailed insight into this part. So let's go to this .apex, and it has apexlang.json. It has just the version associated with it, and then nothing else. So we can just look into the other things. So this deployment has default.json. So this default.json has the actual application ID here. So since my particular schema had only one workspace, the workspace is not mentioned here. But in cases where there are multiple workspaces, there is a high chance where this workspace name would also be present. So this is based on one session that I have attended. So there it was mentioned that the workspace name would also be. So in a similar fashion, we'll have workspace as an object kind of thing, and then within that we'll have the name, so that when we would be able to import the application directly from VS Code. So here you can see this import application, right? So with this, we'd be able to import the application directly. And yeah, so to actually merge the particular application in the right way, if there is only one workspace, it's not a problem. But if there are multiple workspaces, then we might have to add that particular workspace as well. And then we have something called pages. But before I get into pages, I'll look into the share components. So here I can see that the breadcrumbs, the list, static files, component settings, everything is present as separate APX files. This gives us complete control over each and every independent aspect or feature of Oracle APEX. And then let me go to theme. So here I have the universal theme, and that is also a separate .apx files. And then let me go to the static files. So this has the actual images and other files associated. So right now it only has icons. And then now on to the most important thing, pages. So within pages, we can see the actual spec. So here we can see the page number 0. That's the global page, and there is nothing. So the template option is default. And within home, I have uh, I have just created. So it's actually empty. So there is only one region called testing, which is a static content. So we would be able to infer things directly from here, and it is present at as the first item. So that's why we have the sequence as 10. And then here we have we have some items. We have the report, classic report, and moreover, so now there is a region and there is a type, right? So we can actually hover over this and we would be able to see what it exactly is. And if we need, let's say that AI is writing it, right? So we can actually press control and space, and we would be able to see all the available options for that particular part. I can actually change it to something else. But if I am changing this to something else, there can be some additional things which are added. So here we can see that some additional parameters should have been present since I have made it as a dynamic content. But yeah, so let me go back so that nothing happens. Yes. And here you can look into the SQL query part. It is clearly marked as SQL. So we call this format as markdown format. So this particular backtick and this particular backtick denotes the start and the end of. So after the backtick, we'll have the actual language within which this particular code is written. So this is SQL block and this ends here. So within this we have this particular SQL statement. So let us continue with the presentation. So here we can see, so we were able to see similar aspect over there, and the syntax was closely associated with YAML, but yeah, it didn't have all those indentation complexities and stuff. It quite resembled JSON as well, and the SQLs were clearly embedded within SQL blocks, and then we had each page separated as single file, and each component had its own .apx files, making it easier for us to version control and also for us to capture the changes in a much better way. And the export came as a zip file, and we were able to after exporting we were able to look into all the aspects of that particular application in a much broader way. And one more aspect is this static id. So this static id, let me go back to VS Code. So let me take this particular component. So here I have delete node. Now if I copy this and if I paste it here, this will throw an error because there is a duplicated component. So the static ID, this is called static ID. So this should be unique. And there is a reason for it. So only with unique static ID, we would be able to clearly maintain the versions, and we would also be able to create that uniqueness among each and every component within a given application or within a given page of that particular application. Now let's get back to the PPT. This is a separate section. Maybe before covering that, let me complete this APEXLang so that so this spec-driven development is a completely different topic. Although it sounds similar, it is totally different. But I'll explain that in a moment. Let me complete this thread in a much better way. So I'll go to VS Code and then I'll try and export the same APEXLang specification for another application directly from VS Code using the SQL Developer Extension. So let me first I'll start my database. So here I have my Docker. I'll just run it. So now it has started. So my database is up. So let me try and connect it via SQL Developer Extension. So yeah, so I'll go here and this demo schema. This is present within that particular Docker container. Now I'll have to expand it, and within this I should be able to see Apex. And now if I expand it, I should be able to see all the applications, and on right clicking it, I can see. So I have right clicked on the given application and I can see the option export. So now I'll have to click it, and here I can see the folder in which it would be stored. And yeah, I think this should be fine because it is okay, it is moving into testing. Maybe I can get it back a bit. So I'll move it into APEXLang. Now I'll say I'll just choose select. The application name is not readable, the owner is not readable, so the schema is not readable, and the connection is not readable. Because we have chosen that application which is present under all these hierarchy. Now, if there is already that particular file folder being present, then we can actually check this, which would remove the existing file from that particular destination folder and replace it with our particular folder. Since I don't have anything, it doesn't really add up, so I can just click apply. I had some issues when I tried to export it because I didn't had this ORDs up and running. Let me try once again. I'll try this. I'll choose, let it be as such. I'll click apply. It has been exported. That's how we would be able to export application directly from VS Code itself. So we need not navigate back and forth from application and the code editor. Now let's go back to the presentation. And here now let's talk about spec-driven development. So spec-driven development is completely driven by the business intent. So we'll have a particular spec.md created, and this would cover each and every business intent or each and every requirement that is present. Who are all the users, or what are all the roles that are needed for this application? What are the important features that need to be present in that particular application? What are all the aspects and pages that needs to be present and things like that? So everything is broken down as requirements, and then everything would be stored in this specs.md file. And then we'll have a separate file with which we'd be able to provide the schema metadata. This can be just the SQL describe. So with this we'd be able to provide additional insight to the AI model about the database schema that we have, the data model that we have planned, so that it would be able to link the relevant database together in the relevant pages. So to actually get the schema metadata, there is a new feature now introduced within Oracle Apex. I'll have to go to SQL Workshops, and then here within tasks I can see describe tables. So I can just click it. Now I'll have to choose the relevant things. So I'll just choose these four for now, and then I'll click this. So now I can see the table name and the column names and the constraints clearly populated here. And we can either download it or we can even copy this and we can provide it as a context to the actual model. Now, with this spec and with this schema metadata, we would have one another skill within, so it is called blueprint prompt. So we would be provided with that particular skill by Oracle itself. And this particular skill will create the structured app plan and architecture for that given application based on the spec and based on the schema metadata that we have provided. And this blueprint can be used to import, or with this blueprint we will be able to create applications just by importing it. Let me go back to the home, and here let me go to import section, and here you can see application blueprint section here. So by clicking this and just by dragging and dropping the blueprint which is generated by AI, we would be able to create an application. This is totally different from APEXLang. With APEXLang, we would be able to create that open specific language-based application generation, and that can also be done by AI. And this particular blueprint is totally created by specs and schema metadata. So these two are different, but still they can work together for generative application development. So if a requirement comes, we can use Blueprint to generate the first iteration of that particular application. We can export it as .apx files, and yeah, so that application can be exported as a zip. And then on top of it, we can make the relevant changes by providing prompts on top of this APEXLang directly from IDE. And then this particular changes can directly be executed from the IDE, and we would be able to have the changes committed to Apex, and then the Apex app would be up and running with all the updates that are made. And before committing, we can also make use of SQLcL to validate that particular APEXLang to see if there are any issues and things like that. Now, these are the workflows that we can think of. So if there is an already existing application, we can export it as APEXLang, open that in VS Code as I have shown, and then modify the related relevant APX files using AA or using other tools, and then we can validate it and we can directly import it either through VS Code or through the application UI. And the other workflow, if we are creating from scratch, so there are two pathways. So one is this, where we can create a fresh project with VS Code, and with that APEXLang skills, we'll be able to generate that APX files using AA model, and then we can validate it and directly import it. Else, we can generate the blueprints as we have seen here with the spec and with the schema metadata, and then we can import it and we can get it up and running. When should we use APEXLang and when should we use App Builder? So shouldn't we use App Builder at all? No. If there is a quick UI change which is needed just by if I can just drag and drop a simple button or something like that, we can directly do it through App Builder. If there are just small edits, small tweaks, we can rapidly do it through App Builder. And if we have to explore it in UI, so we can, and if we are making any CSS changes, so there are several options which are available within App Builder to make that changes in a much instantaneous way, and we would be able to visualize that particular change as well. But with the APEXLang, we can bulk update things. So if there is a particular LOB which is changing, and if there are multiple forms that are being affected by it, so rather than us doing it manually, we can let AI do it. So in those places, APEXLang would help. And then for source control and for CI/CD automations. So we can cover all these aspects in the upcoming days. And yes, so this is AI assisted development, where this is purely based on. So here APEXLang doesn't play a role. So this is spec driven app development. So here we can see that the intent when it is being converted to blueprint, that is the spec and the schema, when we provide it to AI, there are high changes where the output might be a bit different because it is AI which is creating that blueprint for us. And since we have the Oracle blueprint prompts, we the drift would be a bit small. So the changes aren't or shouldn't be that much high. So the deviation would be there, but it would be very low. But once the blueprint is created, that blueprint, if we are importing it, that output is always the same. If I am importing that particular blueprint in 10 different instances, the output is the same. But if I provide the intent to 10 different AI models, the output blueprint file that we get might be different. We can actually learn this more, and you would be able to relate this. Even if you're not able to relate it right now, it's fine. I'll go in depth into these topics when we are actually experimenting with these things in the upcoming days. And the main takeaways are this .apx files, and then the spec based spec driven development for application development. And then this blueprint concept is pretty awesome. So I was totally amazed by that particular concept. And with this particular APEXLang, we would be able to git version control it, and then we would be able to have the CI/CD pipeline set up so that we are able to deploy the changes continuously through with the help of SQLcL and other things. And right now, with APEXLang, the actual need for us to go to the application builder to develop the application has been reduced, and this is one another way where we would be able to vibe code and create Apex applications. So this has opened up that particular pathway, and with vibe coding, we would be able to create multiple or complex applications in a much shorter span of time. And moreover, there are some downsides to vibe coding as well, but still, if we follow the right practices, and moreover with Apex we get the actual platform support for the security and other things. So we would be safe, but still there are some best practices which we can follow to generate the best application out right out from AI. So yeah, so we can actually look into this particular part in the upcoming days. This is the release notes that we have, and there are several other things which so we have AI assisted, so AI tools, AI agents coming into play, which are using multiple tools, which is replacing the RAG source feature. And then we have AI feature integrated within interactive reports. It's just amazing. And there are several other part, so like the data reporter module and other things. So there are several new features which are present here, and we would be covering each and everything in the upcoming days. Thank you so much for watching.
If this video helped you learn something new or find what you are looking for, please give it a like. It really helps the channel. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to drop a comment below. And if you are interested in more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.